It's no doubt that estimated payments are a topic that we see a ton of questions in. So here are 7 of the most frequently asked questions from our clients regarding estimated payments. Who must pay estimated taxes? In short, anyone that owes over $1,000 is going to need to pay estimated taxes throughout the year. Often we think as business owners as the only people that need to pay estimated taxes, but that's not actually true. It's possible that you could be working a W-2 job and still have to pay estimated taxes. It's possible that your withholding isn't enough to cover your taxes. An easy formula to see if you might owe estimated taxes is to take your total tax due, less any withholdings, less any credits that you receive, and that number, if that number is over $1,000, you likely should be paying estimated taxes throughout the year. The biggest reason to pay quarterly estimated taxes is to avoid penalties and interest. Too many times I see business owners get to the end of the year and we file their taxes and they haven't made any estimated taxes. More often than not, that balance is going to be subject to underpayment penalties from the estimated taxes. To make things worse, if you don't have the balance to cover your taxes, you could also be subject to interest and late payment penalties. With the right tax planning, fees from interest and underpayment penalties can be eliminated entirely. When are quarterly payments due? Quarterly payments are due throughout the year. They're due in April, June, September, and January the following year. Specifically, they're due on the 15th of each of those months. If that day falls on a weekend, it's due on the following Monday. What happens if I don't make any estimated payments? For a start, your balance is going to be subject to underpayment penalties and interest if you can't pay it at time of filing. Both of these expenses are costs that could be avoided if only you'd made estimated taxes throughout the year. Is anyone exempt from paying estimated taxes? There are a few examples of times where you don't have to make any estimated taxes. For one, if you owe less than $1,000, you aren't subject to estimated taxes. The next would be if you've already paid more than 90% of your estimated taxes for the current year, you're not required to make any more estimated taxes for the year. And the same goes for if you've already paid 100% of last year's taxes. Unless your AGI last year was over $150,000, then your percentage would be 110%. If you've paid that percentage this year based on last year's taxes, you aren't required to make any more estimated tax payments for the year. So up to this point, you know what estimated taxes are and why they're important, but how exactly are they calculated? So there's 2 main ways that estimated taxes are calculated. The first way is taking your total estimated taxes for the year and dividing that by 4. You would pay that amount every quarter. It's important to recalculate this every month to make sure that you're not overpaying or underpaying. If your year ends up being a lot better than what you thought, then you could be severely underpaid. But if it turns out that you had a year with a lot of expenses or maybe didn't do as hot, you might be overpaid in taxes and you could have used that money for your business. The second way is called the annualized method. This method is based on what actually happened in the quarter. Estimated taxes in this method are calculated by taking the actual activity that happened during this quarter and reflecting that onto the entire year. A great example would be a company that does most of their business in April and May. They would pay very little taxes in the first quarter, they'd pay most of their taxes for the second, and then the third and fourth it would taper off. How and where can I make the payments for the estimated taxes? In my opinion, the easiest way to make estimated payments is to go to the IRS website by going to irs.gov/payments. There's a lot of different ways that you can make payments, either from a credit card, a digital wallet, a bank account. I recommend setting up an account if you haven't already. You can also make a payment by mailing a check. The location you mail the payment to will vary depending on where you live. However, as I make this video, we're in times where the IRS is taking a long time to process payments. I don't recommend mailing a payment unless you have to. Anything that can be done digitally over the internet, I highly recommend that you do that first. If you have any questions about estimated taxes and quarterly payments, leave a comment below. And if you would like to hear more about how we can help you in your business, you can schedule a free consultation by going to ryanbealscpa.com or following the link below as well. And if you found this content helpful, don't forget to like or subscribe.